Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise to the Most High, the Creator of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael, of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. Brothers and sisters, this particular teaching is going to be addressing the fact of what I have in the past discussed with brothers who happen to be of the Kemetic understanding. All right. So this is what we want to get into for edification purposes. Okay. All right, I call this in my own notes explanations. What are we looking at, brothers and sisters? All right, is on the left hand side the image of the said bird. That in Egyptian hieroglyphics, brothers and sisters, represents A, the letter A. Okay, and what you're looking at, brothers and sisters, on the other side is the arm. That too represents the letter A. So they seem to have been like interchangeable one with the other once it came down to the Egyptian hieroglyphic stuff. So this is what we wanted to start with and get into for edification purposes. And this becomes very important as this particular lesson goes on. All right? Let's go on, brothers and sisters. Amen and Amen. Now, what you're looking at, brothers and sisters, on the left-hand side is the Hebrew aspect of saying Amen or Amen. All right. So we want to sit there and go over this for edification purposes. Let's look at this, brothers and sisters, so we can gain some understanding, okay, of what we're talking about. Pardon me for that. This right here that you see being circled represents the sound in that particular regard. What you're seeing right here, brothers and sisters, inside of the rectangular thing represents the A sound for edification purposes. So, brothers and sisters, what you're seeing being highlighted there in the yellow, all right? Remembering that Hebrew is read from right to left, right? Is Amen. This long letter that you see right there, brothers and sisters, all right, represents the letter Nun or Nun Sophit. Okay, now let's go, brothers and sisters, if we will, okay, to this right here. This is, brothers and sisters, all right, in Egyptian hieroglyphics, I. This is representative of I. This is MN, and this is M. All right, so these are things, brothers and sisters, we want to sit there and emphasize and show. This, brothers and sisters, on this side, all right, that you're seeing being circled in the black, is what people attempt to state is the Egyptian way of saying Amen, and people are saying that that is where the Hebrews got the term Amen. Now, it may seem pathetic or silly, but these is actual teachings among the Kemetic brothers and sisters that are saying that, Amen of the Hebrews came from Amen of ancient Egypt. But what we want to emphasize is that in Egyptian, there was no Amen. If they saying that this is where it came from, because brothers and sisters, what we're looking at right here, all right, is not but I. And we're going to show that. Now, this figure that you see right here is a representative aspect of the male principle in Egyptian. All right, so let's go on to the next slide. Egyptian hieroglyphs. Notice the vulture is the A sound, the I is the flaxen reed, and the Y is the double flaxen reed. So the vulture that we see there, brothers and sisters, is the A sound. And we want to color code this for edification purposes. The I is the double flex, pardon me, is the flex and read. So let's go back to where we was at. So remember when we were saying, brothers and sisters, all right? Remember when we were saying, brothers and sisters, earlier, not too long ago, that this being circled right here is the I. You understand? So with that being the case, how then, if we're looking at the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing of that, how do they say that that is where the Hebrews would have gotten amen from, if it's not even inside of the ancient Egyptian? So this is something we want to point out in that regard. Okay? Now, in the notes there, when it says, and why is the double flaxen reed, that's what we're looking at right here in this particular case. So you got I, or some people will say E, and then Y. So being that, brothers and sisters, there is what? As we shown earlier. Being that there is, brothers and sisters, no vulture, no bird, no arm either within this word that we see here, how then, brothers and sisters, can people try to say that this, as the aspect of amen, is where the Hebrews got it from, if it's not even so there inside the Egyptian language itself? So that's why edification is very, very important. Okay, next slide. Now, Egyptian hieroglyph part 2. By consonantal, triconsonantal. So what are we looking at, brothers and sisters? By consonantal, right? And we want to sit there and show what we're talking about, brothers and sisters, in this regard. I want to make it a different color. All right. You see what's being circled right there in the black? Brothers and sisters, that's MN. So this figure, brothers and sisters, that we're looking at, all right, let's go back to see where we've shown this before. All right. This is the same symbol right here, MN. So now, that being the case, brothers and sisters, when we're looking at this particular aspect, okay, we want to sit there, brothers and sisters, and show this for reasoning purposes. MN, MN. So certain symbols and hieroglyphs represent one letter, some represents two letters, some represents, as we see on the right-hand side, three letters. But the part we're dealing with, brothers and sisters, shows what? One letter or two letters. All right, let's go back for edification purposes. This represents the letter N. Boom, 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 back up and down like that. You understand? So, brothers and sisters, this, brothers and sisters, that we're seeing circled here represents in Egyptian the letter N. So you have I, N, M, N, or I, M, N, N. But there's no A in this whole entire thing here. This entire thing that you're seeing being put inside of my definition of a square is nowhere shown to have the letter A, even inside the Egyptian hieroglyphs. All right, or the sound. Even if you want to say A, it doesn't have the sound. It has, brothers and sisters, either the I or E sound. So that becomes very, very important, because without understanding any kind of aspect of the Egyptian hieroglyphs, we see people becoming confused by saying, oh, well, you know, if you look at it, Amen must have been an Egyptian, and that's where the Hebrews got it from. Such is not the case. All right, so this is just something, brothers and sisters, we want to show in that particular regard. Next slide. Thank you. I M M N. I. I M N N. Where, brothers and sisters, are these people getting the pardon me, getting the A sound from in this particular regard? That's a question, brothers and sisters, that I have to ask. All right. So here we see I, M, N, okay, and N. I'm using my mouse on this, so that's why it might be looking the way that it looks. So, brothers and sisters, I just wanted to show this particular part in this regard here because there's no way, shape, form, or fashion that this is where the Hebrews got the concept and understanding of Amen. All right, let's go on to the next slide. A discussion. There is no A in that Egyptian word. The claim that Amen is from Egyptian is not linguistically sound. The vowels were left out in Metuneta. IMN can be pronounced a number of ways depending on dialect. LOL. It's a consonantal language. It's based on consonants. The vowels are added by the speaker or reader, which was contingent upon dialect. How much studying have you done on a language? Please don't apply the laws of English language to Medu Nitur. Now, you know what the problem is with this particular stance of this person that we see right here? The vowels were left out in the Metuneta, right? Then the person says, and anytime, brothers and sisters, I see LOL, I already know where it's going. It's not something to be taken too serious. All right. Once it comes down to that, when people start saying LOL, I was like, okay, I already know you're dealing in clownism and coonism, perhaps. So I already see where it's going, right? It's a consonantal language. It's based on consonants. The vowels are added by the speaker or reader. So if the vowels, according to this person, is added by the speaker or the reader, how then can we take it too serious? What is the point, brothers and sisters, in having a consonant language when the reader or speaker could just put any kind of vowel sound in there? That doesn't make any kind of sense, brothers and sisters. Because if it's contingent upon the reader or the speaker, how then can a person be totally understood if he or she can make it up as they go along in reading or speaking? This is what happens when people are on, and I want to go there, all right? This is what happens, brothers and sisters, when people, okay, are on the aspect of LOL. See, they make a statement without having to sit there and think they got to give thought to the process of such. All right, let's go on to the next slide, please. Now, this is my aspect here. I have studied it, still studying. The claim made that Ayman is where the Hebrew Amen comes from is not accurate. Ayman means hidden in Egyptian. Amen means agreed in Hebrew. What is agreed in Hebrew? Hidden in Hebrew is sater. If the vowels are added by the speaker, how can we be certain the metuneter in the post is amen or emun? See, what I'm asking, if you look at the person's stance right here, it says it's a consonantal language. It's based on consonants. The vowels are added by the speaker or reader. So now, if the person is saying that the vowels are added by the speaker or the reader, how then can you be so certain, if that is the case, brothers and sisters, that this must be Imun or Imin, or as some try to say, Amen, or whatever? How can you say it might be this, that, or the third if it's based upon the reader's pronunciation or dialect and the speaker's pronunciation or dialect? How do you have a concrete meaning of something, brothers and sisters? Now, brothers and sisters, when you go into one of the biggest Egyptian Kemetic brothers out there that teaches certain things, right? He has stated that this word right here means hidden. Okay, same thing with many of the white scholars that speak about ancient Egyptian and so forth. That word in Egyptian means hidden. Hiddn. The Hebrew word for hidden is the word sater. Now, I want to take the time out now, brothers and sisters, and write, all right, how satir would look in Hebrew. That would be what you're seeing right there, the word satir, all right, written in Hebrew. I'm using my mouse, so please bear with me. That would be satir in Hebrew. So when I was asking a person in this discussion, brothers and sisters, right? What is the Hebrew, pardon me, what is the Egyptian word for hidden? That was my question, all right? What is the Egyptian word for hidden? That's what I was asking. All right, let's see if there's an answer that has been provided. Remember the question I asked. If the vowels are added by the speaker, how can we be certain the metunetter in the post is amen or said as by some as amun? Next slide. This is the person to back to me. A discussion, part 3. In your dialect, so-called Hebrew, didn't exist until the 9th century, meaning they're trying to say the 9th century BCE. One way to look at the relationship of any two cultures is to look at the language. It's like DNA. The Egyptians had the first writing system which birthed Proto-Sinaitic Phoenician, then Hebrew, Aramaic, and Arabic. A lot of Egyptian words were absorbed into the Hebrew dialect. Now, as a brother who's into the Hebrew, that is actually incorrect. There were not a lot of Egyptian words that was absorbed into the Hebrew dialect. There was a lot of Canaanite words, but not Egyptian words. You understand? That was put into the understanding of the Hebrew language. There's a lot of Chaldean words that's put into the Hebrew language, but not a lot of Egyptian words. So the person who stated that doesn't understand the aspect of that. The vowels are added by the speaker. The person keeps emphasizing that, and let's see how that shows it to be folly. Coptic, Greek, and other languages carried the name Amen in their languages, and they undoubtedly got Amen from the Egyptians. So, brothers and sisters, do we see where the person had to go from the Egyptian thing to the Coptic Greek? Just boom to boom? Because the question that I asked wasn't even answered. What is the Egyptian word for hidden? If I am and Amun in Egyptian means hidden, and Sater means hidden in Hebrew, and Amen in Hebrew means agreed, what, brothers, sisters, is the Egyptian word for agreed? You understand? That's the question that was asked. How do you say agree or agreed inside of Egyptian? Next slide. Now let's remember that this person said, and your dialect, so-called Hebrew, didn't exist until the 9th century. Now, there's an issue with that because we have to ask this. The people who are said to have this Hebrew in the 9th century, meaning the 9th century BCE, right? Who were their great-great-grandparents and what language did they speak? Did it go from Egyptian one generation into Hebrew the next generation? No. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. All right. So when they try to say the 9th century, in other words, the 9th century BCE, they're doing it by the aspect of saying Hebrew known artifacts in literature. But what the person did not understand is that all languages are spoken before it is written. All right. So all languages are spoken before it is written. So these Hebrews that he's talking about in the 9th century, meaning like the 9th century BCE, they came from somewhere. Their parents spoke something. Their great grandparents spoke something before the said 9th century BCE. So we want to show that for edification purposes. Next slide. Answer this. If Hebrew came to be in the 9th century AD, right? Now, when I said AD, all right, I'll put a question mark as you see here because I was being facetious with the character. All right. And Metuneta was completely dead language since the 6th century AD. How did a Hebrew word come from the Metuneta word? So the connection. That's my question with that. Because I knew that the person was trying to say the 9th century BCE. I knew that. You understand? I knew that the person was trying to say the 9th century BCE. That's why I put it AD question mark. All right. Now, Metuneta, the ancient language of the Egyptians, was a completely dead language since the 6th century AD. How did a Hebrew word come from a Metuneta word? Because if they have to admit, brothers and sisters, that it was the 9th century BCE, they're going to have to sit back and explain why, brothers and sisters, does this guy right here jump into the Coptic Greek? How does the Coptic Greek come into play? This is how you know a lot of people into that Kemetic understanding are nothing more the Illuminati orientated fraternity, frat party, college things, beta sigma, want to sit there and pimp the Ankh symbol kind of thing, all bushed and bunched into one thing. That's why a lot of them, they will not claim to be the ancient Egyptian people by seed, blood, and heritage and culture. They claim Egyptian science, Kemetic science. They don't claim to be the lineal descendants of the ancient Egyptians or the people of Semitawi. Like we claim to be the descendants of those in Jerusalem. We claim to be the true house of Israel through the seed line, through prophecy and history. They don't, brothers and sisters, claim to be the ancient Egyptians through the writings of Dondera's temple, through the writings of the temple of Soleb, through the writings of the temple of West Amora, through the writings of the temples of Waset, aka Thebes. You understand? So we want to point this out, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes. Let's go on, if you will, to the next slide. All right. Now, this is what the person is saying. And it went back and forth. I'll distinguish which one. Coptic, Greek, Assyrian records all have Amen on record, and in their language, it is rendered Amen. Now, let's look, brothers and sisters, at what the person told me earlier, right? The person said to me in this particular matter, right? Please don't apply the laws of English language to Metuneter. Now, the person then said to me, please do not apply the laws of English language to Metuneta. But yet, here we go with this person here, brothers and sisters, saying Coptic, Greek, Assyrian. I really don't know how you figure that to be one. All right. Records all have Amen on record, and in their language, it is rendered Amen. But Amen spelled Amen because they didn't show, the God didn't show any kind of Greek in the writing in this discussion. The God did not show any cuneiform aspect of the ancient Assyrian writing in this particular discussion. So we have to begin to see that this guy is doing the same thing he asked me not to do, such as applying the rules of English to something else. All right. He goes on to say, there is no way around it. It's verified in other languages. All you have to do is look. So that would be like saying, brothers and sisters, this, right? The word bar, B-A-R. Now, bar in English can mean that's where you're going to go to sit there and take the test to become a lawyer. A bar in English can mean that's where you want to go to get alcoholic beverages. But brothers and sisters, we want to point this out. Bar in Hebrew means what? What does it mean? Clean. The word bar in Hebrew means clean. The word bar in Aramaic means son, like your child. No, I think bar, maybe somebody can enlighten me. Bar as in grain, because I always thought that was barley. But okay, maybe I can look into that. But my point, brothers and sisters, is this: the word bar in Hebrew means healthy. The word bar in Aramaic means son. The S-O-N, like the son as in your child. So whereas in English, the word bar means something totally different. So when a person says, right, there is no way around that, it's verified in other languages, all you have to do is look. What am I supposed to look at? Because each language is individualized to its own self. You understand? So this is what we want to point out. Bar means son in Aramaic, all right? Or healthy in Hebrew. So we want to sit there and point that out. The Hebrew dialect came in the 9th century BC, not AD. I knew that's what the person wanted to say, but I just wanted to say with a question mark in the beginning in the other slide, as we see right here, with the part there still circled, I did that on purpose, all right? Now, let's look at this. And Metuneter was survived in a number of languages, and the Rosetta Stone shed light on it. Let's go in, brothers and sisters. My phone is going dead, so I'll be back with you. But apparently you haven't researched it enough. That's what the person said. Now remember, the person saying I have not researched it enough. I didn't explain everything I had to say, but the person's phone is going dead. So let's see what happens later on, right? Because many African languages still carry some form of amen. That would be like saying certain Hebraic or Asiatic languages carry some form of bar. What does that mean? Bar in Hebrew can mean something different in Aramaic. You understand? So the word that sounds like in one language can have another meaning in another language. So when you say it still carries some form of it, if the meaning of the word in another language is a difference in translation, you're not going to be able to spiritually, linguistically connect the two. Next slide. Discussion part 7. The Rosetta Stone found in 1799 by Napoleon and given from him in time to Thomas Young to Champollion. Bro, they used Greek to decide the Egyptian. How can it be shown that it was preserved in other languages? Not dead language, it was completely dead language. I'm left with more questions than answers from y'all comments. 1. Now, this is my response that you see in discussion part 7. This is me giving a response back. 1, these are the questions I'm left with. If vowels were added by the speaker, how can it be shown that it must have been amen in Egyptian? See, while the person is saying that their phone is dying, they didn't answer that question in the process of all that, yet had enough time to say, you must have not studied it enough. Let's go on. What does Assyrian have to do with the post? Why is Hebrew, quote, under attack? You invited yourself in the convo. Don't address the post or questions, then say, I didn't study enough. What manner of folly? And see, and this is what happens, and other Israelite brothers can attest to it. These are the kind of things that happen when you deal in discussion things with Kemetic brothers and sisters. See, once the person said, as shown earlier, LOL, I realized what energy that a brother was dealing with. Then, when you deal with the aspect, brothers and sisters, of saying that the vowels were added by the speaker or the reader, according to one's dialect, that's how you know you're forcing something to try to make it say a certain thing. That's why I went over the aspect of showing the actual Egyptian writing earlier. All right, next slide. Amazing. You are asking, how did they determine it was pronounced Amen? That's how they determined it, using other languages. That's the part there that says amazing. That's that person response back to me. You are asking, how did they determine it was pronounced Amen? That's how they determine it, by using other languages. So if that is the case, brothers, sisters, how then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's look at this right here. All right, I'm going to erase this. The person said, as we went over, that it was determined by looking at other languages. So if it was determined by looking at other languages, how then can you say that that is the actual ancient Egyptian way of saying something? That's one question to still have to be asked. And how then do whoever they are get this kind of alphabet chart that you see right here? How does this exist if they went to other languages to determine it? That's why, even if you use the Egyptian hieroglyphic alphabet chart that is in circulation, we see, brothers and sisters, what do we see? Right? I, E, and N. Then when we go over here, brothers and sisters, what do we see? One more time. M and N. You mean to tell me that they got a consonant language, we're connecting it to making sounds for edification purposes by looking at other languages, but yet you want to say that Hebrew came about later on than this? No, what happened by the own person's definition and breakdown of certain things, which we're going to get back into, all right? There is no way, shape, form, or fashion that the person and the stance that they have, right? But just saying, we want to go over this, right? What did the person say? Where's it at? Oh, and your dialect, so-called Hebrew, didn't exist until the 9th century. So, can a person say, brothers and sisters, that Egyptian was put into the Hebrew of old, then turn right around and have to speak about the Coptic Greek, brothers and sisters, and say that's how they determined it? Now, who, brothers and sisters, is they? Because remember, the guy earlier, brothers and sisters, right? Where's it at? He said, and Metuneta was survived in a number of languages, and the Rosetta Stone shed light on it. Remember that the person mentioned here the Rosetta Stone. So when we sit there and look up the aspect of the Rosetta Stone, it was found in 1799 by Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte, who had the black men in slavery in Haiti. What are we dealing with, brothers and sisters? This is Napoleon Bonaparte who had the black man in slavery. So let's see what we're dealing with, because for those from Haiti, you know good and well that, may he rest in peace, the elder Toussaint Louverture was betrayed by Napoleon Bonaparte. This is the same Napoleon that the guy had to reference about finding the Rosetta Stone in this shed light. You understand? So let's go in, brothers and sisters, to show what we're talking about. This is how you know that the so-called conscious, in this particular case, the whole Kemetic thing, is more geared anti-Hebrew, pro-Greek. You can tell by these kind of conversations where their whole ideology and their thinking is at. The guy said the Rosetta Stone shed light. So let's see brothers and sisters, with that being the case, right? We want to answer when he says, where's it at? They. I'm sorry. The they right here. We're going to answer who this they is. Because once the guy mentioned the Rosetta Stone, it was a smash at that point. All right, let's go on, brothers and sisters. The words read were excerpts from a post in which I asked, how can one see that Amen in Hebrew cannot come from the Egyptian IMMN? Amen. We were able to see that I was taken from the post to around the world. The post, however, mentions only two languages, Hebrew and Egyptian. So the person had to go and talk about Coptic, Greek, and Assyrian, and Aramaic. You're going all over the world, and you done lost me because you did not want to stay focused on that. And we knew that once the person said LOL, you knew the person was dealing in folly. There's no wisdom that's going to come from a conversation when a person is on LOL. All right. So, brothers and sisters, we want to point that out for edification purposes. I want to read the aspect that's there. Proverbs 17, all right, verse 24. So we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about for edification purposes. All right. And it says this: wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool are at the ends of the earth. Wisdom is before him that has understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. So this is why this person had to talk about the Greek and this one and other African languages, and it all retains some kind of amen in it. You had to go through all of those different kind of things because your eyes are at the end of the earth, because the post was only about Egyptian and Hebrew. So what the person had to do, as we went over earlier, was try to sit there and show, see, in ancient Egyptian, is the foundation of all the languages, and then had to turn right around after saying it was the original of all the other languages. The person says, you are asking, speaking to me, you are asking, how did they, whoever they are, determine it was pronounced Amen? That's how they determine it, using other languages. So if they determined, brothers, sisters, right, taking this stance that the person's saying right here, let's go back and I want to ask this question as a punchline, right? If they use other languages to determine that that Egyptian word right here is said to be Amen by using other languages, brothers and sisters, what and how is the point in saying that Egyptian is the original language of mankind, damn near? If they use other languages to determine and understand the Egyptian writing, that means the Egyptian language lost its own unique flavor and its own unique style as a language. You had to use the Hebrew, you had the Aramaic, the Arabic, the Greek Coptic, and this and that. You had to go all over the world, brothers and sisters, in order to sit there and say, well, this must say Amen. So how then did the Hebrews, brothers and sisters, get amen from the Egyptians if you're not even going to sit there and agree, perhaps, with this alphabet chart of the ancient Egyptian language? Brothers and sisters, dealing with these characters is just that. And I say this in no disrespect intended. They just seem to just want to debate. There is a Facebook group, brothers and sisters, talking about the final debate when you got Hebrew Israelites versus Kemetic. They sent me a request and asked me if answer these questions. Do you like to debate? My response was, get this fed stuff up out my face. You understand? Get this fed stuff up out my face. And I'm not here to try to sit there and make it seem Israelites are perfect. What I am saying is, doesn't it seem odd that many brothers who sit there and espouse the Kemetic thing, one, don't stay in it long, they seem to pimp it just to sit there and debate? And then don't it seem like they crooks, crooked scams, crooked aspect of getting a house, crooked schools, crooked activity, people saying, where's my money at for the stuff I gave you? People running crooked scams on the aspect of saying, I can help repair your credit and all this other kind of stuff. Don't it seem like the Kemetic community seem to be high up in that? I'm not saying there are no Israelites who aren't thieves, but what I am saying, brothers and sisters, is inside of the Egyptian concept that these brothers attempt to present, is nothing but pimping ancient Mizraim. It's nothing but pimping ancient Kemet. It's nothing but pimping ancient Sematawi. It's nothing but pimping ancient Tamehu and Tashmehu. That's all they're doing is just pimping it. They could care less about it. That's why when you talk about Pharaoh Pepi of Dynasty 6 being a homosexual, that doesn't bother them because they could care less about the actual ancient Egyptian people. You understand? You know, so this is something, brothers and sisters, to be pointed out. All right. I want to emphasize verbally again the whole concept of these Kemetic brothers and sisters to try to use Egypt or ancient Kemet to try to go against the house of Israel was in spirit headed by the Jewish man. See, when black people made headlines in the early 1970s about us being a true house of Israel, and some people left America and went over to the land of Israel in 1969 and also in 1971, right? The Jewish people had to sit there and say too many words is coming up over here. So what they had to do was go in cahoots and create certain kind of societies in order to sit there and keep the black man away from this great truth. And you can tell the spirit of it because instead of them promoting the understanding of Ramses, they don't sit there, as one brother pointed out, when they go to debate Israelites, where is their copy of the principles of Ma'at? Israelites walk with the Bible. Where is your copy of the Book of the Dead or the Book of the Coming Forth by Day? Why don't you walk with that and teach that in the street? You understand? It's because it's not in their spirit. It's being pimped, brothers and sisters. It is not something, brothers and sisters, that they actually care about. That's why you find some of them, I ain't Egyptian. No, that ain't me. But you take on the names, surnames, you surname yourself after an Egyptian name, after an ancient Kemetic name. But then you say that's not who you are. That's like me saying I'm Moreh Yeshaya. I don't do nothing with the Hebrew. What game are y'all guys playing, man? You have wasted people's time, stolen people's money, and so forth and so on. And by the way, this big sham thing that people are always talking about, the guy with the school that they say, he too used to promote the whole Kemetic thing too. So when I'm asking, doesn't it seem like repair your credit schemes, fake schools, fake residences? Don't it seem they seem to be the top of that? Yeah, they do. You understand? That's something to be spoken and talked about. Because the ancient Egyptians would not sit there inside with what many of them sit there and say and promote, such as saying that Hatshepsut of Dynasty 18 is the first female ruler. There was a female ruler by the name, brothers and sisters, of Sobek Nefru centuries before Hatshepsut. So this video was more so in an aspect of getting into the linguistic aspects about the whole word amen. And I wanted to put this on the channel just so brothers and sisters can see, as we read in Proverbs chapter 17, verse 24. The eyes of the fool and the ends of the earth. So they're going to hop, believe me, they're going to hop all over the subject after inviting themselves into a post or a conversation. They're not going to stay focused on it because their agenda is to pimp Egypt and go against the house of Israel. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Creator and maker of heaven and earth. Shalom, brothers and sisters.